Welcome to TrekTrav, I'm Trav, and this is the Star Trek The Animated Series review for Season 1, Episode 8, The Magicks of Megas 2. Why is he so ripped? Why do we have magic? Why do we have a weird witch trial? We don't know. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into this review. Now, the episode is they're going to the center of the galaxy. And initially I'm going, well, they didn't know that there's a black hole at the center of the galaxy back then. So we got drawn into a place where space and time doesn't exist, which is made up of mostly fireworks and some wiggly lines. And genuinely, I was just like, okay, I have to accept this little scientific gaffe. But I really enjoyed once they got to the center, which was sort of a planet thing. So they were saved by a man who has horns on his head and looks a little bit demonic. His name's Lucian, and we see that there's a planet where people who use magic live, or creatures who use magic live. And they came from Earth, and they knew all about Earth. Lucian gives a long story about how they went to Earth, but they were persecuted. Well, went to Earth, and they knew humans, and he sort of treats them like they're his best friends. Kirk is obviously suspicious and stuff like that, but then Lucian gets scared, jumps up, jumps down. Oh no, they're coming, and he sends the crew back to the Enterprise, where Spock apparently comes up with the wild idea that because they're in a magic universe where wizards and witches and stuff exist, they too can use magic. So Spock tries to use some magic. And Spock manages to move a chess piece. And that is all we hear about it, because Lucian comes back and tells them, stop using your magic powers. Sulu does weirdly make a woman out of his magic. It was a bit weird. And Lucian comes back, don't use your powers, I'll protect you, you'll be fine. And then they are put on trial. And we find out that when they went to Earth, they were treated as witches, warlocks, creatures that were to be scared of and reviled. They were put on witch trials, they were killed, stuff like that. They show themselves up as sort of weird pilgrims. And it's sort of, I want to say, it's interesting, but there is like a good 2-minute gap where they just paste a picture of planet Earth on, and whoever's doing the lead guy's job, his name's like Archelides or something, it basically explains what happened, but it just shows this picture of Earth, because obviously they just didn't want to animate it. But yeah, so they're all on trial, including Lucian. We get told this story, and Kirk's like, no, we've changed since then. You can read our tapes. And literally, it was really funny because literally these tapes and tapes, as in cinema roll and paper, fly through the air. And then all of a sudden they've sort of gone, okay, you Enterprise people, the Federation's okay. When you're not going to come back. It's very unlikely you're going to come back. And they're like, well, we'll punish Lucian instead. So they exile him, and Kirk goes, no, you can't. And the Pilgrim lets them know that, in fact, Lucian is Lucifer, or Satan. And Kirk says, and hands down, this is why I think what I love about it, he goes, what does it matter about mythology? Like, he talks about religion as if it's a myth, it's something long dead, which, piece de resistance, to be fair. It is interesting, though, that this episode has like a Star Trek 5 vibe, like meeting God and stuff, but it's sort of supplemented for this magic and this power. So anyway, the lead pilgrimy guy decides to fight Kirk, because Kirk wants Lucian to be free. He doesn't want him to be exiled. Lucian is great. And they have a big magic off. It's like a wizard's fight, like in Harry Potter or in Star Wars. If only they had the budget. Lots of wiggly lines. Then Kirk turns a bit gay for a second with his background. And randomly, out of nowhere, the Pilgrim decides that was just a test to see whether you were willing to stand up for what you believed in. And Lucian's happy and the Pilgrims are happy. They transport them back to the ship, then they leave. It's a wacky episode, and I don't think it's a bad episode. I really enjoyed sort of the take on religion, the progression, how we've come so far, the fact that the planet is magical and at the center of the universe would have been really, really appealing to kids back in the day. I do think there's a lot of story that they sort of just sort of gloss over. They sort of just, here is a narrator telling you the history of this, and then you just get a narrator for like a minute, and it happens twice in the episode. I think them using the Magicks fun. It's interesting to see. I'd like to see this kind of episode in a live action series where magic is real. But yeah, they sort of, it's a weird thing. Spock coming up with a logic that they can use magic, and then he says it's logical that they can use magic. I'd be like, where did you come up with that idea? It wasn't a bad idea. It was just like, really? And genuinely, it's a fun episode, lots of colour, lots of fireworks, a genuine threat to the crew. There was a really good ship shop in it. I didn't get a picture of it, but there was a lot of unique animation in this episode, which I was surprised by. I was like, oh, okay, this actually has a bit of extra put into it. There's obviously a million reused ones, but there was a few extra ones. But yeah, great episode. Intriguing story, little bit kiddie. I love the fact that religion was just referred to as a mythology, particularly obviously Christian religion because of Lucifer. And I liked the motif of it. It was just a rompy bit of fun. Tell me what you thought about this episode of Star Trek The Animated Series. I recommend going to watch the animated series. It's been a really fun journey so far. And I will see you next week with another one of these reviews, but also tomorrow with Strange New Worlds. Tonight, with Strange New Worlds' first 2 episodes review. Thank you very much.